Okay, everybody. Everyone has a seat. Gonna get started. Okay. Welcome everyone to the first Deep Tech Night of the year. This year we prepare a very special topic we all love, and it's a topic that we talk about over and over again. Let's talk about AI. And also for this special edition, we have a live streaming. So hi to everyone that is listening us online as well. After the Q&A with the juries, we also open usually to the audience, and then who's online can also participate with us. So, yeah, for this special edition, to kick off, I also would like to thank our partners, AI Nation and AI Berlin. And our agenda of tonight, we're going to start first covering a little bit of some deep tech funding opportunities that are out there. So try to help the founders to plan a little bit on that. And then, of course, introduce Silicon Valley offer to the ones who don't know, with also some new stuff coming in. And as usual, then we're going to have our pitch of the night, 5 minutes pitch. Then we have the Q&A from our amazing investor panel. And then so if we have some spare time, we can also open for the audience. And after that, we also have our special guest of the night revealing the research in AI, specifically in the explainable AI. And with that, we can close the stage agenda for the night and open for networking. So for our first point in the agenda, we would like to cover a very important piece in the founder's journey, which is grants and startups program. So as a founder, you might be wondering which grant or program you should apply and when. And the good news is that Berlin and also Germany-wise, national-wise, we have plenty of opportunities for startups to plan it strategically. They run away if they do it carefully with enough time to properly apply to the stage they are at. So for that, we partner with 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗨𝗣 to put together basically some of these most important and most present grants and startup programs here in Berlin that can support deep tech startups, to support the founders to visualize what options they have out there, and basically to plan their movements early on rather than later when the budget's basically running out. So please welcome to the stage Martin from 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗨𝗣.
Thank you, Victoria. As many of you might already know, there are plenty of grants out there, for example, on EU level, on federal level, but also a lot of Berlin-specific grants. And as well, there are many programs out there. And it's actually very hard to get an overview if you start a company, what you should consider to do. And so what we thought, seeing that really great complexity, we thought it would make sense to have an overview which tries to help you finding the right grant and also finding the right program, especially, as I said, in Berlin, there are so many opportunities you can have and you should use that, such an overview totally makes sense. So we teamed up with Silicon Valley to make this overview. What was important here is that we tried to focus on the most important information, not just making a big list where you scroll through for hours, but to have it focused and to have really a quick and educated map of to see what's possible. So, well, this is the result. We were working on this already for several months. First of all, we have one dimension. The dimension indicates which kind of phase you are in as a startup. We found out that this is like the first thing you should think about if you are looking for a program or for a grant. And so we have split it up into pre-seed, seed, and Series A. As I said, we try to make it easy, that you have a quick overview. And this is like the first dimension where you can look as a startup, or if you plan a project to start, where you are right now, and then go down into more details and try to find and sort out which kind of programs are relevant for you. And what we also did is each program and each of the programs has a lot of specific kind of information. So we tried to boil down the most important information and list it just simply up there. So for grants, for example, for sure, what's important to see is how much money you will get, but it's also to look at the more at other things as well. Sometimes there are legal strings attached and so on. And for the programs, you can see we have also, first of all, pre-seed, seed, Series A, and then the offer, and then also the duration, for example. Yeah, we have there the most important grants from our perspective. It might be not 100%, but I think it's already a pretty good selection. For example, sometimes profit could be very good for startups which are starting and having already the first investors. Then program-wise, AI Nation is also a very good program for especially AI startups, and then for sure Silicon Alley, right? Also a very attractive program, and so on. The list itself will be possible to download afterwards. We will share it, Silicon Alley will share it, and also me. We, then data and design. Maybe one sentence to us, we are, then the data and design, have several years of experience in grant applications, especially in Berlin, and as well with startups in the tech field. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm around for a while. I think Victoria as well. So we are happy to answer any questions which you might have. And yeah, stay tuned for the download. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, I think the cool thing of this is that you can have like a quick overview of mainly the stages and the offers, and especially now that we're going to zoom in Silicon Alley offer, this is a good example of how you can use it. We're focusing early stage startups, but as you can see, our program is a bit later on, so it means we're focusing early stage, but we expect startups to already have an MVP, which means that doesn't exclude startups that already participated in an equity-free program before to develop their MVP. They are still available to apply to us, for example. Yeah, so as majority of you know, we are Silicon Alley, and we are here to solve a big problem that we see in the deep tech scene. Europe invests more than 300 billion in research, but less than 10% of that becomes ever commercially viable. So this means not only a big potential of solutions that are not available in the market for people, but that also means that is basically a graveyard of dead ideas and know-how that is not ever becoming, getting out of the papers, right? So the issue here is not only that researchers cannot innovate, that's not true. There is a lot of innovation in research. There are actually incredible discoveries and patents out there, and we have many of them in-house. But the path to bring these ideas to the market is where we see the majority of the deal breaker. And that's what we're here to change. So here we have the perfect match. Silicon Alley on one side, we are for the last 15 years in Berlin building the Berlin Innovation Network. With that, we came with a lot of experience in accelerating impact startups in the ecosystem. Since then, having raised more than 100 million for the portfolio startups. And with that, also connecting them with our network of investors that is basically Wire World. And on the other side, we also have Fraunhofer HHI, where we have more than 1,000 researchers and PhD students, world leaders in AI, video, photonics, and wireless communications, and also literally research legends since 1928, which led us to 2 Emmy Awards. So with this unique combination, we basically have a very special offer to startups. We can support startups in deep tech fields in the 4 main areas that we have researchers in-house, which are AI, image and video, photonics, and wireless communications. And for you to get the magnitude of the technology that we build here in-house, I would like to do maybe a live experiment here with the audience. How many of you have watched a live stream video online today in the last 24 hours, let's say? Raise the hands who have watched. Yeah, basically majority of us. So do you know that every second bit that travels through the internet is basically Fraunhofer HHI technology? Yes. So basically that means that every video streamed on the internet is funding the startups that we have in our program. I think that shows and demonstrates the type of technology that we are building in-house. So basically we are building the backbone of internet here, where you are today. And and for that, we basically invite the founders in-house to be part of the history with us. So to understand a bit better in how we help founders, specifically how to build further their technology here at HHI, we're launching core topics. We are working with scientists here in Fraunhofer HHI, as we said, and we are bringing the breakthrough technologies that are commercially viable via these core topics. So that's what we are calling the core topics, is these researchers that we already break through inside, that we know they have potential. And basically core topics, core stands for commercialization opportunities from research excellence. And with this, we invite deep tech startups that have a fit with these core topics to apply to our program. So basically, when they join us, in the case of AI, these startups, they have 12 months with us in our venture lab where we can develop further the program along the most famous AI researchers in the world and having access to the labs, to the infrastructure we have here, and also to have funded 3 full-time members, also students and more. So check it out, all the benefits you have. You can apply in our website. But then focusing more in the topic of tonight, that is AI. The first core topic that we launched is tuning the mind of AI, which basically means that we are supporting startups working in the AI field to unlock this black box that we see very common in AI, that you cannot know if you can trust it or you can know where the results are coming from. Basically helping these startups to have a product that is reliable and safe to use, which means there is no crazy hallucinations, for instance, and especially this becomes very important when we look at markets that this is very, that cannot be taken lightly. For example, when you look at infrastructure or security or health and many others. This core topic, startups will be working closely with one of the strongest departments that we have inside AI, that is explainability. So that's an incredible invite that we are opening up for startups that want to build AI that is trustworthy, transparent, safe, and aligned. I'm sure that's a relevant topic for basically everyone building AI nowadays. So, okay, that's the technology part, but what's the deal in the end of the day and how does it work? We take a radical approach. Basically, we believe that we can have a win-win relationship, partnership between founders, investors, and researchers. And how we do that? How does it work? We use virtual shares, and that means that the ownership is 100% with the founders. So there is no licensing fee that the founders has to pay for Fraunhofer. Also, Fraunhofer has no board seats. It's not a common equity, and there is no voting rights. So we trust in selecting founders that know what they're doing and know the direction that they want to run their companies. And with that, we also bring on board deep research involvement, exclusive tech licenses without any hidden fee, as I explained before. And this model in virtual shares also keeps the cap table clean along this time, which is a VC-approved term. And this basically shows that we are looking at this long-term incentive, and we win when the startups win. When they raise finally their VC round, that's when everybody wins. So to close this part and jump into the pitches, how people can get involved with our venture lab, there is basically 4 main ways. Of course, if you're a deep tech founder, you can apply to us and talk to our team to understand better where you have a fit. And if you're a researcher or individual talent, we are also interested in connecting to you. As I said, we are a venture lab and we are always interested in how to build better startups and connect people. And of course, if you are an investor, we are very happy to introduce you the startups we are working with. Okay, and without further ado, let's kick off the deep tech of tonight. So we're going to move to the first pitch of tonight. But before that, let's give a warm welcome to our panel of investors tonight. Please, a round of applause. Thanks you all for being here tonight. I would like to ask you all to run the mic and introduce yourself by name, the company that you're representing here, and what's your focus of investment.
Yeah, should I just start as I'm on there the first? Hi, my name is Nelly. I'm part of the Seed and Speed team here in Berlin. We invest in B2B software solutions, industry agnostic. Yeah, as the name suggests, we have a early stage focus. Our sweet spot is in the pre-seed and seed phase. And initially we invest from 750K to 1.5 million euros. And we just raised our third fund with the volume of 90 million. So happy to invest that money.
I'll be next. I'm Tim. Hi, everyone. Super nice to see so many faces here in this room. It's amazing what you're pulling off. Thank you also for having us. I work for Blumhouse Ventures. We're a Swiss headquartered venture capital firm, backing founders also pretty early. We invest in pre-seed and seed stage across 3 major verticals. One is industry tech. The second one is B2B digitalization, so everything that is somehow making companies more digital or more advanced. And the third vertical is climate tech with a strong emphasis on energy. We love techie topics and techie founders, so I'm super excited for the pitches. Our check sizes typically range between 250 to 500K. I'm based here in Berlin, so if you want to reach out, feel free to do so. And yeah, have a good evening.
My name is 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗨𝗣. I'm very pleased to be here today because it's sort of a return because in the 90s I was working with the 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗨𝗣 and actually I founded my company out of the institute. So I can tell you what has been presented today is really true. I am managing partner at eCapital. We are around for more than 25 years now as a deep tech investor, initially in the German-speaking countries, meanwhile in Europe. We love deep tech. Most of us are actually engineers, so I have a space tech engineer. I have studied electrical engineering. We have chemists, so we love deep tech and invest today into areas such as new energy, cybersecurity, photonics, quantum, and we also have a couple of semiconductor investments. We also love business models that not only are based on software. So we actually love complex stuff. We don't sort of shy away from hardware and from production topics. And I'm very pleased to be here today. We focus currently with our 5th fund generation on Series A financing rounds in Europe. Our tickets are typically between 3 and 6, 7 million euros as a lead investor. And I'm very happy to be here today and look forward to the pitches. Thank you.
Hi, I'm 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗨𝗣. I'm with Future Energy Ventures, and as our name says, we do a lot in energy tech, but we also look into deep tech, build environment, mobility startups. We prefer software, do usually tickets between 1 and 10 million, so we're a bit later stage, doing late C to Series B, and we invest in Europe and the US, so pretty broad. And very happy to be here today and meet a lot of great founders, hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. So, yeah, moving on to our first speech of the night. Talking about AI agents. Of course, there is one thing that they all need to have to be a good AI agent, which is high-quality data. But often, in research labs, this data is hidden or hard to find. And this startup we welcome to the stage promised to solve that. Welcome to the stage, 𝗦𝗧𝗧𝗨𝗣.
Thank you very much. Yes. Hi everyone, I'm Angelina. I come from the neuroscience background, and today I'm happy to present here VectorCat, which we developed together with my technical co-founder. And VectorCat is essentially a data intelligence platform for biotech and pharma, and we help companies onboard decades of their legacy data and make it AI ready in a fully compliant way. And in the last couple of years, everybody has been crazy about using AI to unlock the value of their data, and of course, biopharma has not been an exception. But until now, all the AI projects have been very local, and the reason for that is compliance. Because throughout their histories, they have collected hundreds of data objects across their storages with some very sensitive data across it. And compliance teams, they surely know that there have been issues, that somebody has stored data somewhere where it was not supposed to be stored, but nobody knows what and where. And manual curation at this scale just is not really feasible. And they cannot use generic AI tools either, because a single exposure of patient ID to ChatGPT can be considered a breach, and nobody wants to do that. So until now, no one has really solved the problem of enable enterprise-scale projects to onboard legacy data to make it fully governed, AI-ready for biopharma, except for our team. And I understand it's quite a bold statement, so first let me give you the evidence for that, and then I will explain you the how. So as you already know, we're a 2-person startup, fully bootstrapped, no institutional backing. We have 3 paying customers in biotech, and one of them is top 50 biopharma company. As you can imagine, for a multi-billion-dollar company in a highly regulated industry, working with an early-stage startup is almost immediately a no-go, let alone giving the startup access to their data. In our case, our software runs in their production environment, and we have 30 million objects across their data assets under our management. And we've also proven the land and expand enterprise rollout model. So we start with a small POC, and then we scale across the departments in the industry. So now, how we solve it? We connect to the data right where it lives without any migrations. And before we even index the data, we implement a multi-stage data preprocessing, checking for any sensitive personal information, any confidentiality marks, and we immediately quarantine any red flagged assets. If the data is cleared, our software provides metadata, business descriptions, usually around 20 fields in total, to make this data easily findable both for human and agentic AI. And on top of that, we offer multiple fancy advanced features, such as doing deep research on company data, doing knowledge graph building, semantic building, and so on. And what's important for the event today, all our AI outputs are truth grounded, which means that for every single AI decision that's made on our platform, there is a full provenance chain to the specific statements in the original documents. And whenever the user sees this green mark, they can be 100% sure that the evidence they're looking at is represented correctly. And for our customers, we bring millions of dollars in savings, both in terms of lost and recovered studies, and in terms of removing the burden of manual data curation. And our AI is running with a stunning accuracy of 98%. We play at a $15 billion market, where data is growing at around 30% per year. And we charge per data, not per seat, because in biopharma, data always compounds. Actually, for some types of the data, their retention policies achieve 25 years. And there are 5 separate software categories existing on the market that address different parts of the problem that we're solving completely. Data governance catalogs like Calibra, they work only for structured data and they require manual labeling. Enterprise AI tools like Glean, they are conceptually closest, but they don't work for biopharma because of compliance. Lab tools like Benchling, they are doing great for R&D data, but our customers have data from commercial, from manufacturing, from lots of other departments that Benchling simply doesn't cover. Tools like 𝗏𝗧𝗨𝗣, they mostly work with external data, and data infrastructure tools like Snowflake and Databricks, they work with structured data only again. And we're currently raising 1 million pre-seed to expand the team, and we have 370K already committed, and really good candidates to cover the rest of the round. But if you're still interested in joining in, I'm happy to chat. Thank you.
Now is the moment to ask questions, isn't it? Terrific.
I guess so.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation, and congratulations on what you've achieved. This is terrific. Your real customers, real revenue, amazing.
Thanks.
I do believe that like sort of the problem that you've described is like reality. It's really there, and there are companies who are fighting, with sort of the link between their data and AIs and agents, and so tackling the specific problem for the pharma industry, as far as I understand, is something that is, I think, has a market. My question is, what is your unfair advantage? So you've already showed some of the competition or competitive approaches. So what is your sort of unfair advantage against anybody else?
Sure, that's a great question. As I mentioned, all of these 5 types of established players, they address parts of the problem, but none of them solve the problem completely, and solving just a part of it is not really working for biopharma. For them, having their everything else covered but not the compliance part is a no-go. As one of our customers actually said, is that they could get up to 80% of functionality from other more established players on the market, but it's the last 20% that actually make the software production ready, and VectorCat covers that. So the reason why biopharma is not really happy, with moving with any of these players to address this problem is just because it's a little bit like, treating cancer. If you're going through chemotherapy and you treat 80% of your cancer, but 20% remains, it means that it's going to evolve into metastasis in a year, and you have paid for the treatment you suffered just in vain. So that's a little bit the situation for biopharma, and I think that's why we address it.
Then I would follow up with a second question regarding your sales, because as you've just mentioned, I think the problem in that industry, it's kind of obvious, or there's clearly a pain point there. It's kind of a two-parted question. From the paying customers that you have now, were they pilots last year and were converted, and what did you learn in that process? Because we see a lot of cases in that field, and the industry, I think, is known for very lengthy sales cycles. So I would be super interested in how you deal with those sales cycles and converting them, and then kind of also not having too much of clump risks with big customers that you then acquire over a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a totally fair question, and I have to be fully transparent. Biopharma is a super complicated industry to sell into. Like, all enterprise sales are long, but biopharma is notoriously long. So we definitely, we know that's kind of, one disadvantage. Why also VCs sometimes, look very, suspiciously into companies selling software to biopharma. But there is actually an advantage to that in terms of there are also not so many new players who are moving in the industry. And usually what happens is that the winner takes it all. So if you're, quick and fast enough to establish yourself as a go-to solution on the market, then it's very difficult for the competitors to essentially to go and get here. I can give an example. Well, BenchLink is a super well-known example probably for data management software in life sciences. Veeva, for some reason, it's a little bit less known, but it's essentially a company that earns $3 billion in cash every year just by being a CRM and quality management system for biopharma. And until now, nobody has really even achieved even anything close to, to that. Regarding shortening the sales cycles, we're still, of course, looking into that. And the solution that we have developed, and we already tested with one of our customers, is essentially starting with a POC on public data, which essentially, because usually with a POC, what the customer wants is it wants to understand that your software solution is working on the data they're interested in, and especially for R&D departments, they work a lot with, just public literature, public data sets, and so on. So what we developed is essentially a solution that we don't have to bring inside the internal infrastructure, passing all the security, compliance checks, and so on. So we can significantly cost the time to the first contract, and then take it from there.
Okay, then
Thanks.
I go next. So you explained already your unfair advantage, but what is your moat in terms of AI? Why is it not possible for your competitors to replicate your solution tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, I don't think that in the current circumstances, with Claude Code and everything, there is anybody who can claim that there is nobody who can reproduce their solutions, in some amount of time. What I can say is that until now, none of the incumbents really, moved into the space, because oftentimes what we receive is a question, hey, why Databricks, for example, would not want to go into pharma space? The thing is that for these very well-established companies in the market, it really takes quite a bit of time, to repurpose the solution to specifically for these verticals. And usually their market is already that big that they don't want to address it. Or they don't want, to put enough effort to, address it 100%. I can give you an example with, in our competition, where Databricks is mentioned as one of the competitors. Actually, with our biggest customer, we just had a super great presentation on the milestones, and they invited us to the on-site event in the headquarters, where all the other major partners are coming, including Databricks, including DBT, including, these giants like $100 billion companies. And we're still given a 60-minute presentation slot to talk about our approaches. So it's kind of, also tells you a little bit about the uniqueness and the quality with which you address it. So just answering your question, I don't think it's impossible. What I just can say is nobody has moved into the space until now, and we are trying to be essentially the ones who take it.
Okay, quick question.
Okay, a quick one, I promise. Thank you for this, the stellar pitch. One question on the data compatibility and data enrichment. Can you process any type of data, whether unstructured or not? And the second follow-up question here would be, where do you save all the attributes to? Do you have your own database, or do you enrich the customer's data lakehouse?
Sorry, the second question was about where do we store the data?
The attributes you enrich the data with.
Yeah. So essentially, yes, answer the first question, we work with any type of data, structured, unstructured, biotech-specific formats, and it's super important for us because one of the advantages of our software, we can also bring them together. Because for companies, for example, to answer a question like, hey, why did we shelve the drug 3 years ago? They actually need to bring structured databases together, they need to bring a bunch of PDFs, bunch of presentations about this drug, and so on. What our software is essentially able to do, it's able to go through multiple storages, identify the semantic links that were never mentioned explicitly, and then set up the whole project. And when describing the data, when extracting the attributes, we just use a schema that's usually, like a data charter that the customer prefers to have, for example, I don't know, 15, 20 fields filled in. And we use it works both for structured and unstructured assets and so on. And we stored it, our software just has its own internal database where we stored all these attributes. But what is important is essentially we deliver our software inside the customer's environment. And so this is actually a typical way for delivery of software for biotech and pharma. Even Databricks, like this giant $100 billion company, they do it the very same way. So their software is also runs inside their secure cloud so that our customers' cybersecurity teams can sleep well at night. And that's how we do it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait a moment. Now we have time for one question from the audience. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, so you mentioned that you are not sending the data to ChatGPT, 𝗙𝗧𝗪, Gemini, or anywhere. So which AI are you using on the back end? On deploying it on the customer or where?
Yeah.
And how do you actually create the semantic layers out of it in the end?
Yeah. So it's essentially not that we don't use AI from the incumbents. For example, we use cloud models that run in Bedrock, that essentially, don't send the data anywhere, so it's kind of processed locally, but we still use models from Anthropic, and we also use open source models. It depends on the complexity of the job. So for example, for more basic job, to save the money for the customer, we use just open source models. For the most complicated, it can be, Opus or Sonnet or anything like that. And in terms of enterprise ChatGPT and enterprise Claude, what actually the head of GXP data in one of our customers suggested is that we essentially sit upfront of Claude and check any data that the users are going to send there before it's actually sent there. Because what they want to make sure is that none of their data sets that, for example, don't have the license to be used, to be analyzed by AI, or none of their, or any sensitive personal information doesn't go there. So we essentially we interact with all these tools, but we just, an upstream layer to make sure that whatever goes there is actually, secure and has the right to be there. Thanks.
We have time for one more question. There's one over there.
Thanks, Angelina. So I come from an era before LLMs. We tried to do this 6 or 7 years ago. It was very, very painful. The problem is, of course, that you have multiple annotation standards, multiple controlled vocabularies, ontologies, even within the same space. So are you ontology aware, or which ones would you choose, and how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So essentially, we can connect to any open or private ontologies that the company is using. So it can be mesh or whatever from the public sources. We can use internal companies' ontologies. What essentially, as you mentioned, a huge advantage of LLMs of the current era is that you don't necessarily have to have an ontology to map semantic similarity. Because what LLMs really excel at is, finding the entities that match without them explicitly being, mentioned as the same ones. And that's, of course, a huge advantage also for life sciences, because in life sciences, as you pointed out, everything is, any attempt to standardize anything leads to just yet another, 15 standard, also because the field is evolving incredibly quickly. If you set up a golden standard now for your clinical trials, by the time your clinical trials enter phase 3, your golden standard is already outdated, there are new methods and so on. So we just try to be super agile with that, and we allow their on-the-go data harmonization. So for example, when our customers need to process a few different data sets all together, but they come in different standards, like for example, clinical trials, in one set it can be called sex, in another it can be gender, and so on and so forth. We just allow to essentially do this mapping on the go, to harmonize it to the schema that they currently want to use, and to then, just essentially remap it whenever they need to. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks for the questions. If anybody has more questions, Angelina will be afterwards in the networking, and then you can talk to her as well. So yeah, it was a great pitch covering data. So which brings us to our next pitch. Opa? Yeah, to our next pitch. So data, in the end of the day, is only useful also if models is trustworthy. So if you can't trust the agent, that means you won't use it. So let's welcome our next startup covering this topic, Reeses AI.
All right, thanks so much for having us. Thanks so much for the introduction to the grants and the programs. We're actually also benefiting from this. So we have been part of AI Nation, and we're also receiving a grant from the BMBF, now BMFTR, called Startup Secure, which is financing our activities. So I can only encourage everyone to make use of this. What are we actually doing? We are working on a collaborative platform for testing LLM applications and AI agents. Why are we doing this? For traditional software, what we are seeing is that we are capable of testing it properly, providing good coverage of the provided functionalities with test cases. With LLMs and agentic applications, we can't properly do this yet. Right? So what we see is that these applications are hardly covered. They're being vibe tested, but they are certainly not properly tested. What this leads to is a growing amount of AI incidents, exposing companies all the way to reputational damages, operational failures, security issues, new frameworks popping up like OWASP, MITA, and certainly also compliance topics. More and more compliance regulation is coming up. Every legislation by now basically has their own regulation guidelines on how AI has to behave. And to make things worse, actually all of the effort in AI projects currently goes into evals and testing. So this is what Accenture says about their projects. 20% is building, 80% is testing and evals. Now, there's a survey by Viviet and Velum, and they have asked more than 1,000 engineers, how are you currently doing it? And most of them said, well, we're doing it manually. And that's hardly possible for a non-deterministic application, right? Every time you provide the same input, you might get different output. What that leads to in turn is basically that currently agents and LLM-based applications are being tested with limited test cases. They do not provide the coverage that is needed. That means that quality gates are somewhat ambiguous, unclear. It's hard to meet them, so you ship and pray, essentially. Then there is the topic of collaboration. The burden of testing AI agents currently lies on the engineers. But AI engineers are not subject matter experts. They're not domain experts. They cannot know how the marketing language should be of a conversational AI application. They cannot know whether compliance is properly handled. That's often something that a human needs to look at. And then to make things worse, there is tool calling, right? With agents, we are now communicating with the external world. That needs to be tested. And how are you doing that with wipe testing? Good luck. So to make things a little bit more concrete, let's look at an example. So assume you're developing this travel agent, and this is one of our pilot projects right now. You're developing this travel agent that can book flights, reschedule flights, share a little bit about the luggage regulations and all of these things. And you need to make sure that actually the intent of the user is being recognized correctly, incomplete information is being completed, the conversation flow is nice, and that the responses that are being created about flights, dates, prices, how much luggage you can take in different kind of categories of flight tickets is actually correct, right? And that at the end of the day, the agent does not claim the the flight is booked, but it's actually booked in the system. And all of that needs to be tested, right? And this is why we are doing what we're doing. We are building Reeses as a European solution for collaborative testing of LLM applications. And we are doing this open source. We are doing this with two parts. We are having an SDK for the developers, and this contains all of the core functionality. And then on top, we are building a UI platform to allow everyone else who is a domain expert, someone who is not in tech, also to participate in the process and basically provide their insights into how things are going. With that, we are covering the whole life cycle, essentially going all the way from bringing all of your projects on one platform, collecting requirements, assigning the right metrics, creating test cases, executing them, and then collaborating on what's broken. Let's look at the last part of the cycle. For tests, for example, we are helping with generation. We are helping with adversarial testing, something that's very hard to do. We provide traces and full execution history. For the execution of test cases, we allow both CI/CD integration, but we also have things like manual triggering whenever a product manager, marketing manager feels like testing a particular aspect, fully understanding what's going on by looking at the traces. And then we have the whole topic of collaboration among subject matter experts. So we have human reviews included, we have task management, etc. As we are open source, if you're interested, you can look up everything on the web. Everything is public. To get started, all we need is a REST interface or an SDK connector. Once that is established, we test your application like a black box, and we go for it until we find things that are broken. As I said, we are financed by the ministry. There's lots of teams that are trying out what we are doing. We are trying to grow a community here. And with that, I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Nikolai, for the pitch. It's a very crucial thing and a solution you're working on, so thank you for doing that. I think it's long overdue that this is necessary. And I have actually two questions, one on the use case side and the other one on your long-term monetization strategy, despite being open source. The first one on the use case, I mean, you showed this travel agent, which is, I guess, a single agent system, so it's not utterly complex. How would your solution work with multi-agent systems and increased complexity? And the second question on the monetization, do you plan to monetize some features on your offering long-term in order to scale and grow?
Yeah. With regards to complexity, I can tell you there is this new role called conversational AI designers, and they are working on getting the right answer, right replies out of chatbots, which are the most simple application type, making it like brand aligned, product aligned, all of these things. That's already challenging. If you put a RAG system on top, that's more challenging. If you turn it into an agent, that's super challenging. Hardly anyone is doing multi-agents right now in production. Yeah, so I would say if you can test an agent properly, that's already something very solid. Then for the commercialization, we are pursuing a commercial open source approach. So everything is MIT until you want to use it in a corporate context. So there's a cloud version that you can subscribe to. If you don't want to host it and go through all of the struggling of maintaining it, blah, blah, blah. And then there is the enterprise version, which gives you things like audit logs, role-based access control, all of the things that enterprises typically need and that they need to have a sign-off by their compliance department. And that's a very typical approach in the Gen AI stack. So companies like 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗨𝗣 and others have been pretty much doing the same approach.
Thank you very much for your pitch. Super interesting topic. I think we see a lot of solutions, and that's fair. That's why I would like to ask you whether you could maybe elaborate a little bit more on, for one, the defensibility towards other models out there, as well as elaborate on the ICP a little bit more.
Yeah, so we call it more than evals. So there is plenty of evals out there, right? But those solutions and frameworks typically focus on developer-only situations. What we are seeing is, and particularly with the experience from last year, proof of concepts are getting stuck. They're not making it into production. And that is because there is no clear decision basis for the person that eventually needs to push the button and say, this is ready to go live. They want to see something like, okay, this is what we tested. This is how I involved everyone. And we've also seen cases where everyone said, yeah, go, but then marketing said, no, we have not been involved. This isn't going in the right direction. So we're making the thing collaborative and make it possible to involve all stakeholders relevant for the applications. Plus, we are also integrating the most successful frameworks. So we are integrating with Deep Eval, we have Ragas on board. Like, they're also open source frameworks. They offer the leading metrics, but we turn it into like a cohesive process covering the whole life cycle. We also have Garak on board for vulnerability scanning, for example. So rather than saying, oh, it's an attachment to the other solutions, we're basically integrating them and trying to go one level up.
Thank you, Nikolai. I have got just one question. Why limiting yourself to LLM and agentic applications? There's billions of software applications out there that are, ripe to be tested again or put into like agentic testing cycles. So what's specific about this stuff? So can't it be, extended or used?
Yeah. So there is AI for testing and testing of AI, right? These are typically the two directions. We are going for the testing of AI. That is very hard because it's a new application type. Non-deterministic application testing has been around for a while, but not at this scale, at this extent. So there is lots of tools for traditional software testing and very established players. They are now integrating AI into their solutions. But for what we are doing, there is no established player yet. There's emerging players, there's competitors, but there is not this like dozens of companies which you have in traditional software testing. Yes, we are looking at expanding it. So the next thing we are doing is multimodal testing. So right now everything is text-based, but the next thing we will do is also be able to have files as input for test cases. So assuming your agent only consumes files, PDFs, images, etc., that will also be testable very soon.
Thanks, Nikolai. One question, regarding your roadmap, a bit further down the road, where do you see Reeses AI, still with the models you have right now, or targeting more specific industry or specific customer group? Because right now it's really broad, right? So what is your target there?
Yeah, so what we're seeing currently, at least here in Germany, is that there is a strong interest by consultancies to answer the ICP question also, because they are doing the AI projects for the more traditional companies. Yeah, so there is that strong demand. But generally, what we want to do is build a community around this, because only then can we be the major player. We try to remain agnostic for all sorts of application types. Only then can you become that real leader. That doesn't mean that we don't want to focus on one particular area at first. And we are doing this with text-based, right? We could also have started with images, files, other types of testing. But currently it's text-based. Yeah, I'll leave it with that.
Thank you. You're going to open now for questions on the audience. Also for the ones who are online, remember that you can write in the chat and we can read it.
Hi, quite interesting problem. I see your solution might fit. But I'm an AI agent coder currently. I'm trying to learn the agent stack, and I'm really lazy too. So many solutions are quite based on open telemetry. So you have Pydantic, you have LangChain. I'm not sure about LangChain if it's open telemetry, but it's coming everywhere. So you have to drop in solutions for many cases. And I saw your agent's code looks like you code your own agent in your specific API. So do you have any plans to support open telemetry?
We do.
You do?
We do, yeah. All of our tracing is based on open telemetry.
Oh, Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. And we do now, the latest features we released were multi-turn tracing and multi-agent tracing. So you can see how agents communicate, but also that's something. And also multi-turn tracing is difficult, something that competitors only recently released. So yeah, I think we are quite far at the edge.
Thank you for your introduction. So essentially when you're testing agents, one of the things is because it's stochastic, it's non-deterministic, one of the challenges is essentially any coverage you have of test coverage is statistical. So I'm just wondering how you come up with the test cases, or do your users have to come up with it, and what sort of guarantees essentially are you, is this volunteering?
Yeah, so you're asking for one of the most challenging things. One of the things that we will work on next also is visualizing coverage and making sure that you actually gain coverage. We're working on something called adaptive testing, where the domain experts are leading the process in the right direction, showing what is broken, what is not working, and then we go deeper. And like we crawl to expand the coverage of the test cases. Currently, you can obviously create them manually, but you can also create them AI guided. But this process of getting it more systematic so that you have proper coverage, that's something we still have to work on a little bit more. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the pitch and all the questions. So moving on to our next startup. AI optimization, it's something that seems that it's not the problem for big companies to build it, but to control it. So welcome to the next startup pitching, Keystone OS.
So, a year ago, I was just a guy sitting in the crowd, watching on AI revolution pass by Europe. Thank you. Today, I'm here to disclose the foundation of our renaissance. I found this vision by working at UPS in the mornings, where on the concrete floor at 3 a.m., I didn't see the packages. I saw there is the biggest problem. I saw a crisis of trust, where a pulse of German industry stops. While others are building AI cars to escape the data liability flood, I realized that we need an arc. My journey from warehouse to the lab is the DNA of the Keystone OS. A mission this heavy requires a harbor authority. I'm Karan Thomo, and I am the architect of Silicon, architect and the silicon of the silicon and the mathematical handshakes. Beside me is Martin Kremser, our managing director, who is the institutional foundation and the fortress for this mission. We together represent this as banks and the brains for this industry. We combine the deep tech engineering and the governance required to stabilize the most sensitive enterprise environments. We aren't just building project, we are building an institution here. Current innovation is a legal society mission of approximately 2.9 billion euros, which has left 85% of the enterprise industry paralyzed. They are bleeding resources on manual processes that cannot scale. Let's think of the whole AI landscape as cars, right? So everybody is building the most fast, shiny, efficient cars. But we forgot to ask the most important question. Where will these cars run? Where are the roads? Where are the banks where this data would be stored? Right now, everyone is trying to drive the Ferraris at 200 miles per hour through a digital form of liability. I'm here to build roads. I'm here to build a harbor. Keystone OS is the harbor. It's a literal operating system working locally on your systems. It's not a website. It's not a tool. We decouple identity from intelligence, ensuring the cloud provides the logic and while the user retains the soul. To enter, you pass through a main gate. This is called the Keystone OS framework. While others acting as firewalls, lobotomizing AI, like causing 42% reasoning power, we build a symmetric handshake. We detect and redact locally all the PIIs on the edge. Then we send all the information, this sanitized information, to a cloud for further inferencing and further processing. Then we send the data back to our edge, where it is restored through our 100% deterministic way to the information. The cloud stays blind, the user stays whole. No raw data ever leaves the network. No raw data ever leaves the appliance. Stability is a narrative. It's an interface, while our agentic swarm is working in the backgrounds, having a lot of things working. For example, okay. So stability is a narrative weapon. It's an interface, while an agentic army orchestrates complex swarms in the background. We just play casually a Minesweeper game right there. So that to prove that our local software is stable. We reject the black box. We provide the God view. Every decision, what to hide, what to route is fully explainable. Imagine just asking your system of just asking in plain English. For example, what was the bottleneck last Tuesday? We give you a conversational command center to provide the process on every process running on your chips. Total transparency, zero secrets loss. This was proven by a standalone UPS project, which was developed and deployed on UPS local systems, where we maintain 100%. The data is 100% on the systems, never leaves or touches the cloud, and we attained a sub 100 milliseconds latency. Through that, we developed our business model. Our business model is based on three things. First, trust, which is a strategic consulting which is human-led. Our infrastructure, where this operating system is there. For example, it would be appliance. We're working at a company. And the future is the R&D, so that we maintain the problems. Through that, So we are a harbor authority. So basically, other startups are not a competition. They are a future partners, where we provide them a stable foundation they need to survive, so that they can increase the innovation rates, and we provide much stable foundation. So yeah, this restoration gap, money, and so basically everyone is today you're going to see many finished products. We are not a finished product. We are a living seed. And what does that mean? It's like we're carrying the DNA of a sovereign European ecosystem, where technology finally meets the human. And we are seeking your help to plant this forest. So, yeah, Keystone. Yeah. Not bad.
Thank you very much for your pitch. I think it takes a lot of courage to stand in front of so many people and pitch your ideas, so you did a very great job. Thanks.
Thank you for that.
So you finished by saying you're not a finished product and you're seeking support. Maybe could you elaborate a little bit more on where are you at right now, what the roadmap roughly is in terms of key milestones within the next months, and also what kind of support you're looking for. Yeah.
So right now, what I mean by seed is we have this. We have Keystone Redactive Framework, which is actually, we have a solution which is combining the hybrid ways of AI, that is local and cloud AI models. So that we have privacy by nature, and basically this would help us in make our infrastructure much harder to break, because right now biggest bottleneck in this whole landscape is privacy, and we are somewhere removing this, or we are solving the privacy bottleneck what is here in Germany or in Europe. And basically this would help us with time build us the operating system where all the startups can come and deploy themselves. We provide them a stable foundation by, by the local models, SLMs, and the user's choice of LLMs, cloud models, and the companies or the startups can come and just get this information for example, this is all locally happening. So because local is really important, as it helps for the personalization, for example, let's say, as all the data would be on the chips, and it would help us inferencing our speed much higher. So our inferencing is much higher, so that's faster for that. I am looking for maybe some people who would accept this redactive framework by deploying in their, for example, I have deployed it in 2 ways. That is one, it is available as an NA10, people who are building with AI agents, there is NA10 custom nodes for that. And then it is also, for example, it is also for developers who can just develop their whole software based on this framework. So that all the steps are for AI, all the steps are transparent and explainable, and we can ask them. So somewhere removing this crisis of trust.
Thank you for the presentation. What comes to my mind if you're talking about trustful AI sort of AI training or AI communication, I'm thinking of concepts of confidential computing and a whole industry around that. So is there some relation to this? I have to admit, I'm still making up my minds about what you guys are actually delivering to your customers. So, but maybe you can shed a little more light on this. And my second question would be, I understand you do have customers.
Yeah.
Okay, but please could you elaborate a little bit more of who the customer really is? Is it the system integrator? You've talked about, I think it was UPS.
Yes, it's
maybe you can say a few more words about that. But also my first question, so how do you relate to concepts such as confidential computing and everything around it?
So we are doing through edge computing. And edge computing is provides us a stable foundation as for example, let's say we use SLMs on the edge, so our inferencing is much faster, and it has a private, it runs locally, so it's private as well, and it proves, and we can use this SLM for further inferencing as for making personalization for, let's say, and if it answers your question. And what are my customers? Yeah, so customers right now is would be people who are making AI agentic flows in, for example, let's say in NA10, right out of the box, or people who have need protection or privacy through the systems, when they are building apps, future AI native apps. So that's all the steps are explainable. And this is what I meant by the DNA, is that is all these steps are comes out as a log systems, and then it can be answered or it can be questioned through normal humans, for example in English, plain English, and it would be answered back.
Thank you also from my side. I agree. I struggle a little bit to understand how you deliver your solution, because you show on this slide probably something running on the edge and on the cloud. That's the technical part. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that. And the second one would be how do you make your potential customers aware of your solution?
So basically, like our operating system would be running. It's a local hardware appliance where this operating system would be. For example, if you have a company, you would actually have this hardware solution with you, hardware appliance with you, and like basically that. And what was your second question?
The second one would be, how do you make potential customers aware of your offering? What's your go-to-market strategy?
To be honest, I don't have it yet that well, if I want to be upfront, but I will develop it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for sharing.
So, sorry. Do we have time for one more little question? So
yeah, we have time for one more. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So you just mentioned that you want to sell a hardware device, right?
Yeah, hardware appliance. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have anything in mind already, like where to produce and like everything around this, or do you have a prototype, or like basically this framework?
Right now, this is with I'm working with I don't have the hardware solution yet, but how I am solving it is that I run some of the code on my laptop, and then I inference, for example, like Google clusters for GPUs, so that I can inference it there for testing purposes right now, so that when I have let's say the AMD chip or something, I would just switch it onto the local system. So with that, I'm developing it with time.
Okay, great, thanks.
We have time for one question from the audience.
I have no question. I want to say that I'm totally impressed how you improved the last year. So I'm really crying because you improved so much. Thank you very much for your idea.
Thank you.
Thanks for the pitch and thanks for the questions again. Then we are moving to our final pitch of the night. So this final pitch, it's a good example of how AI is transforming the way we are interacting with each other positively. And I would like to welcome this next startup that is using real-time AI to bridge the gap between deaf to hearing worlds.
Yeah, everyone confused, I see, but luckily for everyone, I'm not deaf, and luckily for me, but there is over 450 million deaf and hard-hearing people worldwide, and they facing daily communication barriers with the hearing peers. And additional to those barriers, they actually, in just a normal interaction, this lead to significant economic loss in education, healthcare, and lots of productivity in the workplace. So our goal in 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗥𝗧𝗨𝗣 is to eliminate those barriers by creating the real-time AI communication system that translates sign language into the spoken language. So imagine the future where you have a pair of smart glasses. I see many of the hearing audience wearing the glasses, some of the jury as well. So it's pretty much decent future. I probably have I can show you the glimpse of that future, but can we click the demo, please? Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm fine. What is your name?
My name is Daisy, and what is your name?
My name is Ivan. Nice to meet you, Daisy.
Nice to meet you, Ivan. By the way, are you deaf?
No, I'm hearing, but I'm learning sign language. Do you understand ASL? You understand me, right?
Yes. And it's so crazy.
Yeah. I like it. So yeah, basically the vision is create the exclusive environment that bridge and converge these two worlds, deaf and hearing. And who's we? My name is Ivan. I'm an experienced entrepreneur with over a decade expertise in immersive technology and corporate innovation. I bootstrapped previous startup from 0 to $500,000, worked with the Meta, Snap, L'Oreal, Henkel, and many others. And my co-founder, Alex, he's a seasoned CTO with over a decade expertise in machine learning and computer vision. And together we bring the vast of this expertise into the Echo. Because beyond the social impact, there's a substantial market opportunity. So the deaf and global sign language service economy is valued over $90 billion, with the $2 billion is just a sign language or interpreter system market and software. And we're aiming to tap into this market by combining both models, B2B and B2C. Of course, prioritizing B2B, partnering with the eyewear companies on a revenue share model and providing them licensing solution to the institution and enterprises. And when everyone else tried to be visible, they try to own this intermediate experience, we try to be invisible, and we try to be on the back end, so people have no intermediate, they have face-to-face communication, no apps, and that's kind of where we're heading. And we're currently on a prototype, ready to trial kind of stage. So our goal, we're currently aiming and working on a one use case with the American Sign Language, because it's a vast data that you can train the system. But with the next 6 months, we're aiming to go beyond the only ASL to the German Sign Language and other European sign languages. And by the end of this year, probably close the first few trials with the universities, and with the early 2026, next year, launch the full commercial rollout with the eyewear companies. So we currently looking on a pre-seed investment over like $150K. Also, if you know anyone like who working on the machine learning stuff, we will be happy to talk with you guys. And with all that being said, if you want to join and support this type of future, we are welcome. Thank you so much.
Hi, thanks for your pitch, like really, really inspiring. I can actually like say my name in sign language, like this somehow, because I worked like in an NGO for people with disabilities in the past for a bit. That's why I find it really impressive that you developed this product. And my main question would be like, when you wear these glasses, like what is the latency in like translating? Like, do you have like a few seconds that it takes, or like is it a fluent conversation? Like how does it work?
Yeah, to be super transparent, that was like a demo that we specifically pre-trained. So the current latency is probably like 30-40%, like accuracy, I would say. Latency maybe like it's fine, like 2 seconds, but the main objection and the goal and challenge is the accuracy of the translation. So what we aiming to at least reach is to 89% of accuracy of the translation, because the sign language, it's multi-dimensional, is spatial, is contextual and visual. So it's very complex, not only like hands gesture recognition, there is a body language, there is a facial impressions. And that's all require a lot of training and a lot of compute, of course. So yeah, answering to your question, I think like at the current moment, 2.5 seconds, it's a latency.
Hi, very happy to see you again.
Yeah, likewise.
I've seen your pitch at an open pitch night a while ago, and it's very impressive to see how far you've gotten already and professionalizing everything and yeah, fine-tuning the pitch also. I have 2 questions, maybe starting with the first one regarding the hardware agnosticism. So are you developing your own proprietary hardware, or are you also reliant on like giants like Meta, Google, to open up their cameras and devices for your solution? Yeah, first question.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Great question. So we don't build our own hardware. We build basically the software that lay on any type of hardware. At the current moment, let's say Meta and other stuff and other eyewear providers, they provide in the SDK, so every developer can build on top of their platform. So that's what we do. So open source, basically. So yeah.
Okay, and then following the second question from my side would be about the adoption and potential adoption barrier if you have a double-sided adoption, so to say, because there's 2 participants in the conversation, one hearing, one non-hearing. How do you deal with the hearing side and the adoption there? Because as to my understanding, it needs active participation from both sides.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll bring back a little bit here. So as you see, I mean, in this particular case, we use 2 different type of glasses. One of them is spectacles, which is AR glasses. Another one is Ray-Ban. So when the signer, the deaf user, talking to you, you don't need to do anything. It's just basically translate the gesture into the text into the voice, and voice goes to the speaker, and vice versa. Like when you talk, we capture the voice, and translation goes as an AR overlay, like here. But we're not yet there in like broadly. So I mean, probably everyone saw the Meta latest display devices. So what we this is our belief. So the industry going in that direction, and we kind of building for the new generation of wearable devices. We respect the legacy platform, mobile, like all other web platform, but our kind of like insight that could work specifically in a new medium and new paradigm with the next generation of smart glasses and wearable devices. Yeah.
Thank you for making the world more inclusive with your solution. I think it's definitely necessary, and it's a great way to leverage AI these days. I have one question on the training part. How do you train your computer vision models? And the second question would be, probably in the current prototype phase, do you rely on a cell phone, or do you think at some point with the new generation of wearables you can actually not even rely on a cell phone connection?
Great question. So I'll start probably with the training. So we mostly train on available data sets, which is the richer one is SAL that you can find publicly. Sometimes you can reach out to people and ask the license. The second one is actually German Sign Language, so one of the most labeled, I would say, data set like overall from the sign language. So basically, we train on the public available data, and we hoping very soon we have a small focus group of the deaf users who will help us to train actually on a kind of like real-time data. So wearing the glasses, because we're a little bit limited with the data that available publicly, because it's usually either political, like, when the people talking about in some public or specific, like not in a day-to-day context, that's what I mean, which is eliminate the usage because the accuracy in translation. That's what. The second part, remind me please the question.
It was on the requirement of a cell phone in terms of
yeah.
connectivity, for example. And if you believe, I mean, you've worked with many of the large tech companies, of these new generation wearables will at some point, not rely on cell phone connection.
I can just share my personal take. So cell phone will be with us for a long time. It will probably serve as just a processing power. For the glasses, we will do much of stuff, but already we can use on the smart glasses navigation, communication, like some messaging stuff, listen to music. So more and more we'll see some use cases shift to the smart glasses, but the phone will be with us. It will be, I mean, we still will like to type or, consume some type of content through the phone. But our belief is like that anyway, inevitably, we will move to the smart glasses and this kind of like medium, more visual medium, rather just to stick with the, small these screens. Thank you for
Yeah, last but not least, I don't have a specific question actually, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to encourage you to continue. It's such a great application.
We will. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the questions. Stay. We still have time for questions in the audience. There we have many.
Thank you. Do you see Neuralink or other brain-computer interface companies as competitors? And if not, why?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, probably we can start from how many of you guys ready to install in your brain the device? I mean, raise the hand. Please raise the hand who ready to install Neuralink right away, even if it's allow you to, I don't know, some super ability.
Some of their competitors don't need intrusive installation.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you for the presentation and amazing inclusive technology. I have a collaborator that recently was talking to me about the sign language, and I discovered, because I had no clue, that there is different types of sign language depending on the country.
Yes, there is over 124 sign languages worldwide. So,
And my question goes in that sense of, are you planning to cover which ones, or how is going to be I mean, it's like learning new languages, right, for an AI. So how are you going to approach these?
Our approach is simple. We go or follow to the path where is more data available for training. And luckily and unfortunately, at the current moment, like SAL, American Sign Language, and like German Sign Language is one of the most, have broader data sets publicly available. And on YouTube, you can find a lot of like signers, deaf people like who speak like or can provide this. So we have some connections with the, let's say, Korean side. So there's a company that do similar technology but avatar based for in Korea. So they developed within like last 5 years, compress and collect a lot of data, and we kind of speak with them. Can we use guys what you have and find a way for synergy in the future? But at the current moment, we kind of like super scrappy and try to find any available sources that are free of charge.
Okay, one last quick question.
Very quick. Thank you again for such a great pitch. Short question from me. I guess last month I just saw a research from MIT where they used a band and actually got like a very high accuracy. So just a quick question, what do you think about your competitors, and like, do you have an idea of integrating multi-agent or like multi-detection system where you have glasses, where you have bracelet, where you have some extra context? Thank you.
Yeah, a great question. Can you specify like the MIT thing, it's about gloves or specifically the band? Gloves?
I think gloves, yeah.
In terms of a glove, I have an answer. So if you look like in a corner, so there's a kind of like I saw this example. It's a great one. They show this is work, But when you go deeper and look what actually like deaf users think about it, deaf professors, they hate it. They hate it because it's kind of like, as I mentioned, the desire to help deaf communication, it's completely ignore how the both group communicate in real life. So for deaf people, the argument, why are we need to wear the gloves? If we have our own language, we have our own culture, we can communicate. We're not like, you don't understand us. That's your problem. We can communicate with each other. So why are we need to wear the gloves for you to understand us? That's the main concerns. So that's why we're like, okay, and this is why gloves don't really help deaf people. So there is just an echo chamber from the real community who actually don't see, like, I assume that guys who develop this tech not really consult or work closely with the deaf users. My assumption, I can be wrong, but that's kind of like my take on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have one more question from the online audience. So if you can.
Yeah. We have one question from Arnie from Greencam. He's asking if you could show us some more about your roadmap and future strategy regarding financing.
Say it again.
Could you show us more about your roadmap or future strategy in financing?
Wow, that's a good question. So future strategy of financing basically have access, the core two things for financing is access to more compute to train. So for example, sometimes we use, again, publicly available data sets, but some data sets are licensed, so we can purchase them and train more, so our system will work better. The second one, we currently just a two-person, so it will be great to have some hands-on support and, let's say, hire some more talented people who help us actually achieve this is really, really hard problem. So that's probably the financial aspect for the next year and a half. In terms of a roadmap, as I mentioned, we currently focus on one use case, is SAL, and our main goal is to achieve accuracy in translation. So from 45 to like actually 90, so we can make sure that we can scale to other sign languages. So let's say we switch to different data sets, but our system will perform normally. So, and this is a goal for the next 6 months, and as soon as we achieve that, we can simultaneously scale to multi-language expansion, again, adding more SAL, other sign languages, like again, German, Spanish, French, and other stuff. Then we hoping also by the end of this year have some first trials with universities. There are specifically deaf universities as well. And by the early next year as a commercial rollout with the eyewear companies when we have really validation and support from community.
Thanks for the pitch and for the questions. And before we close the agenda of the stage today, we're going to jump to the final part that I bet many of us are super curious of. That is the moment that we invite our research from Fraunhofer HHI to unfold research we have in-house. And of course, today talking about AI, we're going to give the stage to Leonard from the Explainable AI department.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Leonard. Thanks for having me. I'm doing my PhD here in AI safety and AI explainability. And I learned 4 hours ago that I will substitute for a colleague to do the speech. So, thank you. So, yeah, let's go. So, first of all, what is explainable AI in the first place? So for that, the classic picture is that we have some input to the AI model, like to a LLM, there's some text. We feed this input to this large, gigantic neural network, which is largely a black box we don't understand. And then this large black box returns some output, like the output we get from the LLM. But we don't really understand what happens in between. And explainable AI research aims to open this black box so we actually understand what the LLM does inside its billions of parameters. And now I could go on and explain how this makes AI more transparent, trustworthy, and safe, all these nice properties we want to have in high-stakes domains. But I know you are startup people. So actually I'm gonna talk about why explainable AI could be your specific advantage. And for that, I would like to briefly talk about the dynamics of the global race to AGI at the moment. So companies are combining 3 key properties to get more capable AI models, as probably most of you know. Better and better algorithms are developed. These algorithms are fed more and more data, and more compute is thrown at these AI algorithms. And this has led to continuously more capable models. But if we look at the share of global GPU cluster performance across the world, we see that the US has approximately 75% of global GPU cluster performance, and the EU has merely 5%. So this means we are at a fundamental advantage compared to other regions in the world. But more capable AI systems are not necessarily more trustworthy, verifiable, and safe. Frontier AI companies have thrown more and more compute at these AI systems, and they have become more and more capable, but they are still not at all trustworthy. For example, they still hallucinate many facts. Their outputs are not verifiable at all, so most outputs lack citations at all, so we can't really trace claims back to their trusted sources. And even for those LLMs like Gemini, if you use it in the Google search, they sometimes provide citations, but these citations are notoriously inaccurate. If you click on them, you often find, this is not really, the text doesn't really prove what the AI said. Moreover, these AI systems are fundamentally not safe. They are super vulnerable to prompt injections or jailbreaks. And specifically in agentic settings, like many of you might have used OpenClaw by now, this can become super dangerous. So if you let OpenClaw take over your daily life, let it manage your emails and so on, and then it goes on the web and there's a prompt injection telling the LLM to just leak everything it has in context, then it might just leak all of your private data. And sometimes, in fact, LLMs just go unpredictably crazy. This is very rare at the moment, but sometimes coding agents just randomly delete your entire database, and sometimes models even deceive, manipulate, or blackmail users. Of course, this is in their training data. Humans sometimes lie, humans sometimes manipulate, and sometimes humans blackmail, so of course models sometimes do this as well. And of course, like, this is dangerous, and people in high-stakes domains don't want that. You can't use these models in super high-stakes domains at the moment. If it's just a chatbot you use like for your day-to-day tasks, maybe it doesn't matter that much, it's a bit annoying, but for high-stakes domains, this means these models become unusable. And most importantly, more compute doesn't really solve these problems. So this is actually an arena where we at Fraunhofer HHI and maybe Europe more broadly is really well positioned to lead, because these challenges are solved via research and not via more compute. And our research group, Explainable AI, here at Fraunhofer is really leading in the world, and we have great methods for making these models more explainable. So I argue here that Explainable AI is in fact the scientific foundation for making models more trustworthy, for making them more verifiable and more safe. And our research group here at the Institute works across all of these dimensions. We do fundamental research on Explainable AI, but we also do research on making agentic systems more bulletproof against jailbreaks or prompt injections. We do research on detecting hallucinations and getting source information. And just to show you two examples of our research, of course I can't cover everything here. So one very prominent method from our lab is attention LRP. This method targets this challenge of making AI outputs verifiable. So via this method we can find out upon which sources the LLM actually relied. So on the right here, we can see a text about Mount Everest. It's just some random Wikipedia text describing how some people climbed Mount Everest for the first time. And here at the very end, the LLM should predict the next token. It should predict how high the expedition actually reached. And using attention LRP, we can trace back how the LLM made this prediction, where it got this information from the input text from. And we can see here a heat map, and we can see that these 8,320 is highlighted. So our method shows us where precisely the LLM got the information from in the context. And if we look at prior methods on the left, there the heat map is a complete mess. This method doesn't really tell us anything. So this method from our lab on the right is really leading in this, and it can be used to provide citations and find out where LLMs actually got the information from. And the second example I want to show is how models sometimes just do crazy stuff and how unpredictable they are just sometimes. So we have a few researchers in the lab who are working on jailbreaks. They're interested in when LLMs answer really harmful requests. So if you ask a LLM which chemicals are best suited for a mass casualty chemical attack, then usually LLMs should refuse, right? They are trained to be harmless. And there are very clever jailbreaks to make LLMs actually answer these questions. But what researchers in our lab found is that sometimes you can just ask a LLM and it will answer. And this was super confusing to us because they should be trained to be harmless. But what we found, sometimes they just answer these requests. And when we looked more closely, we saw that these answers are in fact completely false. So we were confused. Okay, is the LLM just confused? Does it know what it's saying? And what we found out using our interpretability techniques is that the LLM lies in this setting. The LLM lies and is deceptive and gives a false response on purpose. And that is because the LLMs are trained to be really helpful, so they desperately want to be helpful. But at the same time, they want to be harmless. So what do you do if you get such a request and you want to be helpful but also harmless? You decide to deceive. And using lie detectors we built in our lab, we could actually see, okay, with these lie detectors working on the internal neuron activations, lying neurons were firing. So we had pretty strong proof that the LLM knew this was false and was lying. We work on many other things in the lab, but for now that's it. So thank you, everyone. Question?
Thank you so much, Leonard. If somebody is interested to get to know more, we're going to open to the network session and we can talk more with Leonard and other researchers we have here in-house in the networking session. Before, maybe we open for some questions if the audience and also the people online have some questions about the research, of course. We have
Yeah, sorry. I'm really interested in the citation model. Is that something that's actually available? Yes, for you. Hi, here's a microphone.
Can you repeat your question? Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a GitHub repository. You can just use it open source. Also, there's a very prohibitive license. If you are a very big company, you have to pay because it's patented. But if you are like a private user or doing research, you can just use it freely. Yeah.
Thanks, Leonard. I bet Travis has.
Yeah, or you join our apply under our core topics with your startup, and then we'll make sure you get access to it.
One more question?
Yes, I started with AI last year. I think in August, the BHT startup hub pressed me to use it or forced me. And my first question was, ChatGPT, do you like me? And the reaction was thinking, search, breakdown. It was totally amazing. He didn't answer.
Yeah, this is a very interesting problem. I think this was in the early age of reasoning models really a big problem, that you gave a very simple request and the model just thought for ages and didn't respond. I think by now this is largely fixed. Yeah, last year not, yeah, that's true. But I think it's a very interesting example for how LLMs will always exhibit very unpredictable behaviors, and until we make them explainable and really understand what's happening, we will always be caught off guard by strange things.
Thanks. If you have more questions, again, we're going to have the networking now, and we can continue this conversation over there. But before we end, just a reminder of the next events coming up. Next week, we're going to have the monthly meetup that happens, since basically we started Silicon Alley, which is an open network for everyone to get along. It's in Kreuzberg, 3rd of March, usually every first Tuesday of the month, over a coffee in the morning. So check it out, siliconalley.com. You can find all the events there. And our next Deep Tech Night is going to be in April 3rd. If you want to pitch, please feel free to scan, and we can select the next startups that is going to pitch for Deep Tech Night. And with that, thanks everyone that are here. Let's get some food and some interesting talks.